Howdy, everybody. Welcome to another Being on the Scene. If you joined in as soon as this started, you saw some technical difficulties, and that's what happens when you do things live. So, before we dive into things, let's make sure that we let everybody know what is going on. Doo, doo, doo. I'll make sure we got this all taken care of before we start diving into things. There we go. All right. So, want to do this live episode for a couple of reasons. First one, it's been a minute since I've done my last episode, and feel a little guilty that I haven't been able to do so. But the reason why is because I have been traveling. There have been some other life things that have happened since the last time I've been on here. But at the same time, it's just been busy, busy, busy with work, whether it's my day job, night job, but at the same time, I am doing anything and everything I possibly can to try and advance myself in this field. And I have to owe a lot of that to the Utah Hockey Club, just because there were a lot of people that were following my socials due to the Utah Jazz, or just trying to see where I have progressed in my own personal life, whether it is in schooling or just living in Utah in general. I've definitely had a lot of people that have come into my life because of the move that I made to come and be a part of this sports world. And before we even dive into anything, I want to thank the people that have gotten me into said field, such as Bill Riley and Maria Chaleos. Um, they were some of the first professors I've had out here that really showed me that as long as I put the effort in it, there should be no reason why I shouldn't have a job out here in Utah in the world of sports. Especially Bill Riley. He was the one that pushed me to make an X account, Twitter account, whichever one you want to call it. He said, whether you hate social media or not, you have to do it. And I mean, without that first push, I wouldn't be a part of this community at all. So, just really thankful for him. And then Maria Chaleos introducing me to people like Alex Keary and Scott Mitchell, and teaching me how to even get the basics of audio editing. Um, they got this whole ball rolling. And then once Twitter started doing its thing and I started live tweeting games and writing for the Hive Sports, thank you to Daniel Olson. I got in contact with Hu Tran, who then eventually got me an internship with KSL Sports and Television and introduced me to some amazing individuals such as Sam Farnsworth, Jeremiah Jensen, Matthew Glade. They just really showed me that as long as I put the effort in, I can make it here. And with the Utah Hockey Club, I figured, you know what, I'm going to jump on something that I've never been a part of before, something I've never paid attention to before. And that last Arizona Coyotes home game is where everything started. I was still interning at KSL Sports, and we sent multiple people down to Arizona to really capture how those fans were feeling once the rumors really came out that they were going to be moving. They were going to be going to Utah. Those rumors really started taking a life of their own. And at that point, I told myself, I need to learn this sport as much as I can. I'm already in the Delta Center enough as is with the Utah Jazz. Why not learn hockey and take advantage of this new market? Because hockey was already prominent itself as far as the youth playing, and then having juniors out here, ECHL with the Grizzlies. There was already a hockey community here, but I couldn't imagine how this community would have engulfed bringing in this NHL team. And especially with it being the Coyotes, granted, I did not pay attention to hockey until this team came here. I knew that the Coyotes were not the end all be all team that was going to have a bunch of support, or really be a competitive team. And that was my mindset with this team coming to Utah. I didn't know what to expect, but based off of what I had seen, it wasn't a team that was going to be phenomenal, but Utah was already taking in the Utah Jazz at that point, which they had been used to having winning seasons and being a playoff contender year in and year out. But knowing that fans were still showing up for the Utah Jazz games, I figured that they would show up to Utah hockey games regardless of what the success would be, just because it would be the new shiny toy. Plus, it's a community that has been untapped, and you're going to bring in so many new people into that arena just because it's a brand new team for a sport that they had already loved. And when I went in for that inaugural season introductory event, um, I met so many wonderful people there, and being able to pick their brain and starting off being on the scene, that's where it all started. I wanted to interview fans and understand where their mind was with this new hockey team coming to town, getting their opinions on, should I be super intrigued by this Coyotes roster? Who should I keep an eye out for? Who's the star of the team? Who are the young guys that I should invest in? And so many people came up to me and told me, like, the moment you embrace the sport, that's when you'll truly appreciate what hockey has to bring to the state of Utah. And one person that I met off the bat was Brandon Merrill. His X handle is at Utah underscore hockey. Most of y'all now will know him as Broccoli Brandon. And I'm sure at this point he's probably annoyed by that name just because it's been everywhere in the state of Utah for the last handful of weeks. But I remember meeting him just before the season started, along with guys like Brian Bolnick, which is also his X handle. Um, just meeting at a pizza shop outside of the what would soon be the Utah Hockey Club practice facility. Um, it was just a bunch of guys that just wanted to, make friends with other new fans and maybe even educate each other on what this fandom really means to them, especially with Brandon being a Coyotes fan and rocking his Kachina until the first sweaters came out. He wore that loud and proud. And then even with Brian, unfortunately being a Colorado Avalanche fan, but recognizing that this is a home team, and even though his fandom is strong with the Avalanche, um, he recognized that this is his home team, and even though it can still peak out every now and then, um, his Avalanche fandom won't go away, but there is a newfound love for this organization that he is able to take his family to, along with Brandon being able to share his love and passion for this team with his family. And uh, it's been crazy to think that something like sports and having an untapped market, um, I didn't realize that this would be something that people would be able to embrace so quickly. Um, so having that sort of connection, it really hit me different that this is more than sports. This is a community, and getting to know this community as quickly as I did, meeting other guys like another Brian, uh, who is at UT Mammoth Club, Justin, who's at A underscore ski bum, and Ryan Reynolds, not the actor. Wish it was, but to be honest, I think I got a much better friend in him. His handle is at Ryefish65. Um, these guys, they embraced me immediately. They probably recognized that I didn't know a thing about hockey, but I wanted to try and embrace this untapped market, and I wanted to, maybe even cover this team as a guy that doesn't know anything about hockey. And maybe these people could educate me and get me to a point to where I could feel confident talking about the game, even though I'm sitting here live tweeting every single game. Um, I have no idea how this sport works. And I was really hoping that these people would show me that it's okay not to know. And this entire fan base was so accepting. And I don't even know where to go from there. Just especially, I have to give special attention to Justin. Every single time he would see me, it was always a one-on-one conversation, and most of the time, it wasn't even hockey related. It was just checking up on how I am or what's next in the life of Alma Bean. Like he genuinely cared for who I am as an individual. And granted, I've met so many fans at Jazz games, but it was always centered around the Jazz themselves or what type of coverage are you doing next. I've never had a connection where it started off as how are you as a person. So to Justin personally, I thank you for even trying to do that because being somebody that doesn't have a large friendship here in Utah, it's not a question I get asked too often. So it means a little bit more than you think. Just a simple "How's your day?" Very impactful. Um, but then even guys like Jazz E. Pinkman, or as some of you guys know him as Captain Cook, just the every win, seeing Bart tucked in, seeing the new pucks added, seeing what Utah Hockey Club lore was added. Um, it was something that a lot of people look forward to. And even though some people might see it as a silly gimmick, um, it was a way of showing that an individual was actually paying attention to what was going on around them, what was going on with the hockey community. And even if it's something as simple as a carton of eggs with Mikhail Sergeyev's face poking out of one of them, uh, it's showing that little things are really being taken into account. And it's crazy thinking how large of an impact that sort of thing had. And I didn't realize that that was something that could be embraced so quickly just because again being involved in the Utah Jazz fan base that wasn't something I'd seen, but ever since I had moved here it has been complaints left and right. um but even making that connection with the Jazz, the professor himself at Superfin 23, uh he would run into me at the Delta Center often and just a simple fist bump. And granted, again, it's something that might be seen as small. It definitely was something that made me feel like I should be at the Delta Center. There's people that were looking forward to seeing me there, even though I may not see them every single time. It was something that I felt I could look forward to. And again, even though you might see it as like a simple fist bump, definitely made a larger impact than you may have thought. But as far as the games themselves go, going to backtrack a little bit back to Brandon. Uh, I remember one of the first times we truly did interact outside of that initial meeting at that pizza place. Um, we stayed at the Delta Center for the entire day of the inaugural game. We were there for the initial press conference that Ryan and Ashley Smith held with Gary Bettman, and it was so hot. I had multiple photographers asking me like if I was okay, just because I was wearing all black. The sun was beating on my face, and they were just checking up to see if I was okay. And I was like, I don't care if I'm okay. I want to film this. And it's it was interesting to be a part of something like that because with my newfound job at that point, which again I can't thank enough to the people that I addressed earlier for giving me that type of opportunity. But I had been involved with the Utah Utes football team and, doing some post practice scrums and, being in front of these people that I used to yell and scream at from a television screen. Now, being within feet of these people, I had tried to learn to cut off the difference between fandom and professionalism and being in front of somebody like Ryan Smith or some other people that I had met along the way that I would consider celebrities in my eyes. um, it was crazy to think that I was a part of something that they were also experiencing for the first time, and being able to meet people right there such as Jazzy Pinkman, Captain Cook, uh, Broccoli Brandon. Uh, but with Brandon himself, we were listening to Shabuzi doing his sound check. ESPN still hadn't even made their way over to the concourse area. They were rolling out like a laminated blue carpet out on the concrete, and we were just sitting around, just listening to Shabuzi do his sound check. And he wasn't trying. I recorded it for TikTok, and a handful of people ran away with that. Just because, again, since he wasn't trying, he was mumbling his words, and we were cracking up because we knew that he wasn't trying. But once he got done with his sound check, he came on down, and being a fan, we're running up to him and talking with him, and I'll never forget Brandon going up to Shabuzi, and immediately he was like, "Whoa, that jersey! It looked dope!" Like recognizing Brandon's Kachina sweater, and the first thing out of his mouth was, "I'm a big fan of your music." And Jabuzi immediately called BS, just because at that time he had only been known for a bar song. I personally like his song Riot, um, but most people only knowing him for a bar song. And Brandon then kind of developed a full conversation with him, asking him like, "Oh, what's your connection to hockey? Like, here's mine." And Jabuzi immediately was like, "I don't know a thing about hockey, but ESPN told me to be here. They told me it was going to be fun, and I'm really looking forward to what Salt Lake City has to bring." And it really made me recognize that even though Utah is the brand new market, there's a whole bunch of people that are going to have eyes on this team even if they're not here local. There's going to be so many people that are going to be watching every little thing that the Utah Hockey Club does because they are new, whether they care for the sport or not. So hearing Shabuzi say that, I was like, okay, he's on board. I'm on board. Let's see where this thing goes. And just seeing the festivities that went along with it, um, especially when the players started arriving. Me being lucky enough to be able to meet a guy like Austin Facer, who's the host of SLC Puck, who's now a co-host of the Nashcast. Uh, we were standing side by side, not recognizing that we were right next to each other until he pulled out his phone, saw me behind him, and he was like, "Oh, that's Alma Bean. Yeah, we're buddies." I was like, "Oh, cool. We've interacted a couple of times, but we're buddies now. I'll take it." Um, so it was crazy to be right next to him for that important of a moment, something that, in my opinion, can't be replicated. As you see these players being introduced one by one, walking down this carpet and having a bunch of kids that are just playing a bunch of rec hockey, being able to wear their team sweaters and having these NHL players come out and being like, "Oh, that's a really cool logo on your sweater," or seeing these fans making signs for players that they've never seen play before potentially, and, embracing them as if they had been lifelong fans. That's something that I feel can't be replicated. But then the actual events themselves, seeing how many vendors came out, seeing how many media members came out to Utah to become a part of this history, and even Shabuzi's concert, um, the streets were flooded with people. I know, at least for my spot, I was probably a good 100, 200 feet away from the actual stage itself, and I was getting scared as Jazz Hockey Bear started launching pucks into the crowd. I was like, "Oh no, this is gonna hurt." None of them reached as far as I was standing, but that was my immediate thought. I was like, "I don't know what a hockey puck feels like." So this is probably going to hurt because I know that these hockey players definitely have lost teeth and have been knocked out. They have scars from these pucks. I can't imagine a air compressed gun shooting hockey pucks into the sky. So I initially was scared, but um, I wanted to make sure that I didn't miss out on anything. And one of the biggest parts of that inaugural game was that I was able to make a connection with my mother, who still lives out in Jacksonville, Florida, where I'm from. Um, she had been raised on hockey, and I had never made a personal attachment to the game. So now, embracing this brand new team, I was able to have a brand new connection with my mom at 27 years old. And I didn't realize that I could make new connections with my mother. I thought that we already have all of our inside jokes, and we didn't really need to make new connections. But now every time we're on the phone with each other, she's asking me about what the hockey club is doing, or how certain games went, or even her telling me that she watched a certain game and how there was a BS call from a ref and what I thought about those calls. Um, I didn't realize that that was a new connection that I was going to be able to have with her. So I wanted to make sure that she had a piece of Utah Hockey Club with her. So I made sure that I got one of the inaugural pucks for her, um, which I did not realize how much of a hot commodity it was going to be. I figured that at least the inaugural game puck was going to be worth something, but I personally felt it had more sentimental value than monetary value, even though I've seen the prices that people have been listing them for. Not proud of the people that have listed them for as high as I have seen them, but people were willing to buy it. Great for you, but again, I don't think that that's necessarily a good look on a new fan base to be paying for something that was worth $25 and selling it for what I've seen upwards of $700-800, and it's crazy. Um, but I got her the puck and I FaceTimed her immediately and I was like, "Hey, this will be with you in about a week or so. Don't know what you're gonna do with it, but I wanted you to have this piece of hockey because this is my first moment with it, and I want you to share that with me." Um, Tears were shed on both sides, but now going into the game itself, I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know how to dress because again, I didn't own any true hockey attire like sweaters like I do now. Um, so I was wearing the quarter zip that they were selling. It was the baby blue one, or mountain blue. My apologies. We got to use the right color names. But I was wearing that along with the first Utah Hockey Club branded hat that I had purchased. And I was like, you know what? This is good enough. We'll wait for the sweaters to come in. And the game was phenomenal. I, along with a majority of the crowd, it felt like, didn't quite know how to cheer, when to cheer, what chants we should do, but I was just happy to be in the building. I didn't even recognize what I was really being a part of. But watching uh, Dylan Gunther just absolutely kill it in that game, just the way that he was going around on the ice, not really knowing terminology, not knowing any penalties. I was just so astonished by how athletic and elusive these guys were. I didn't really know how to put it into words even. Um, but seeing Dylan Gunther get those 2 goals, making history, being the first person to score in Utah Hockey Club history. Seeing Connor Ingram, who was one of the players that had been mentioned so often in the offseason, um, recognizing how much talent you have to block the shots that Chicago was shooting towards him. Was as- I hate saying the word again, but I was astounded because with sports in general, I've always been a defense person, and seeing defensemen like Mikhail Sergachev, Ian Cole, um, and then Connor Ingram just blocking these pucks that are going 70 to 100 miles an hour with zero hesitation. I did not recognize what I was seeing at that time. And again, I was just jaw dropped because I'm now learning why people love this sport so much. And I wanted more. The adrenaline was there. It was so fast paced. And one of the biggest concerns that I had going into the game was, am I going to be able to see the puck from where I'm sitting? Because where my seats are in section 129, row 18. And for those of you that don't know, that is almost right near the corner of the arena. And the 18th row is about 3 or 4 rows away from being at the very top of the Delta Center. And granted, I knew that there was going to be partial obstruction. The corner that was closest to me can't really see it. I lean forward, but I've also learned to adjust my eyes up to the jumbotron if they do get in that corner. And plus, the camera view shifts to where it's from across the ice, so I'm actually getting a different view than what I would get if I were to just look straight down. Um, but I had learned that this was such an interesting thing that I really wish I had watched more, because in Jacksonville there was an ECHL team out there as well, the Jacksonville Icemen, which my mother has a personal connection to through Brian Patafi, who also was a part of the Salt Lake Golden Eagles. So the fact that I wasn't able to take advantage of that resource, I'm actually a little disappointed in myself that I wasn't able to embrace the sport sooner. But after watching Utah win 5-2, I knew that I was immediately hooked. I knew I had the season tickets, and I was going to be there regardless. But I did not realize that I would be embracing this sport as much as I did. But then, getting all of these overtime games, yes, it's exciting. But when your first 6 games, 4 of them go into overtime, you start having some heart palpitations, and I wanted them to stop. Um, and even though it was very exciting games, them winning 3 out of those 4 overtime games, um, I really wished that they weren't overtime games, just because of how the season ended up playing out. But the next big game that I feel that I found memorable was against the Carolina Hurricanes, where Kirill Vmelka got his career high 49 saves. And that's where I feel like I truly got to learn who is. Her X handle is at Hey Ash Tweeted. Um, I had seen her a little bit on socials here and there, just because I wanted to see who the fan base truly is and who I should follow, who can teach me more about this sport. And that's where I learned about Ashley's love for goalies. Um, I did not realize that there were other people that embraced defense as much as Ashley did. And as that game played out, you just saw her on socials more and more. Just that's my guy, the Melka. Like you've earned this. I'm so proud of you. And that's when I started learning that this fan base is truly embracing these players. Like, yes, you can have a favorite player, and your fan base can say, "Oh, Clayton Keller, he's the captain, he's the guy." That is the person that we are going to revolve our entire fan base around. You can do that no problem. Utah Jazz did that immediately with Lauri Markkanen when he came to Salt Lake City, first year becoming an all-star, and since then he has been a poster child. Literally, you can see it behind me. Um, but everybody started taking a liking to different players, and a group that didn't receive a lot of love, especially Ashley can attest to this. Goalies, they are always the blame if there's a loss because why didn't you stop this shot or this or that? But she educated the fan base on, hey, yes, this puck went past the goalie, but look what led up to it. Can you really blame him for making the decision that he made? So that's when I started learning, oh, this contributed to his motions. I shouldn't put blame on the goaltenders for maybe sliding all the way left to try and make a pad block or diving right to make a glove save. I need to recognize that the plays leading up to it, the sequence leading up to the shot, I need to pay better attention to that to truly make a decision on whether or not it was to blame on the goaltender or the other players on the ice. And Vemelka was phenomenal in that game. And when he got that first star, I remember recording it because I thought, you know what, maybe with my online reporting, I should probably start talking about the 3 stars. Like it'll get bring more attention to the players that really had a great performance, but it might not show up on the stat sheet. And Vemelka's um celebration, helmet tilted all the way back, fist up in the air. It's something that you again can't replicate. And that was when I recognized different kinds of memorabilia, which I thought I had right here, unless it's buried underneath here. Oh, here we go. It's where I really recognized that um, there were more things in merchandise that I could obtain to really say that I was a part of history, and this is that one. It's a ticket stub recognizing that history was made, and it actually has my seat and everything on there, the date, the final score of the game, even has the statistics on the backside. Only issue I have with it is that it's misprinted. Has Nick Bugstad on there as the second and the third star. But if you look up the stats of that game, Bugstad was the second star for his 2 goals in that game, and then Michael Kesselring with his 2 assists was the third star. So the fact that I learned that that was something that I could get throughout the season really made me feel like I could fully embrace every single game that I went to because history could be happening every single game. Um, After that one, another game that I would say was very memorable itself, at least at home, um, for me at least, would probably be looking at the schedule. Would probably be the Minnesota shootout that happened on December 10th. Even though it was a loss, it was the first shootout in hockey club history. It was a stress that I thought I had already recognized with overtime. Then I learned about shootouts, and I don't like them. They are terrible. Um, I wish that they did not exist because all it takes is one bad movement to change the outcome of the game. which, I mean, you could say that for the entirety of the 60 minutes that is played plus overtime. But, one on one, um, unfortunately, in my opinion, Utah does not do well in self creation. So shootouts would be considered kryptonite. And it proved in that game that that's what would end up happening. But it was a taste for Utah to recognize what a shootout is like. And even with the loss, Clayton Keller still got 2 goals in that game and received a second star, um, behind Matt Boldy, who got the first star, and then Marco Rossi, who got the third star. Um, but again, it was something that I had never experienced before. And I wasn't even in the arena for that game. I was actually working at KSL Sports Zone as a radio producer for that game. So I was in studio cutting up highlights left and right, learning how quickly I have to cut up these highlights, mind you. And I didn't know how to post. I didn't know how to react to it. But then, 2 weeks later, they do it again against the Anaheim Ducks. And that's when they had Jackson Stauber in goal. And I still didn't quite understand how the AHL to NHL transition worked, how their contracts are formed. So seeing him in net, I was like, oh, maybe he's making his way up to the team, not knowing that that's not how it works. Um, but then after that point, the next game that really stood out for me, it was a road game. Again, it was against Minnesota because that was the first time that I went to one of the Utah Hockey Club sanctioned watch parties. I don't remember where it was at, but I know that I was able to meet up with a handful of people, such as Austin Facer, recognized a handful of individuals that came out to that event. And I was sitting there alone on my own, just watching the game. Funny enough, the game uh, wasn't a part of the subscription, or there was some sort of error with their cable at that time. Um, and I didn't even get to see the start of the game. So I was just like, "Oh, great! I'm at a watch party and not even watching what's going on." But with that watch party, I ended up winning this hockey puck right here. Granted, it wasn't the puck that I wanted that was up for grabs, but it's free. I'll take it. Whatever. Um, but it was crazy for me to think that there were still so many people after being engulfed in this fan base that I have no idea who they are. So me being a shy individual when I'm in places that I am not familiar with, I did not reach out to as many people as I had hoped I did. Talked to a handful of people that were at the bar top, and Austin introduced me to a handful of people, but it was not what I anticipated. But at the same time, I really enjoyed myself and got to see Karel Vemelka get a shutout, and seeing the little helmet taps at the end of the game. Um, it was really cool seeing that with the players, like how big the culture is, and that you pay your respects when they are owed, and it happened so frequently. But I had never recognized that that was a traditional thing, just because I was so zoned in at home games to what's the next thing that's going to happen. I need to get my phone ready for a video so I can record this and that. I wasn't necessarily paying attention to the players lining up for their goaltenders and essentially thanking them like, "Hey, without you, we wouldn't have won this game." So, little helmet tap, little bear hug, move on to the next person. Um, but following that, it was the Pittsburgh Penguins game because that was the first time that I got to see Sidney Crosby in person. And I did not realize that, uh, like, I understood that he is a pretty big deal, you know, Sid the Kid. But even with him being a seasoned vet, closer towards the tail end of his career, that his talent is ridiculous. I didn't even realize that um, how phenomenal he is, and watching him get that overtime win, um, it was crazy. And another great that I got to see in person for the first time, Alex Ovechkin. Even though that was the game where the NHL started hating Utah just because there was incidental contact between Ovechkin and Jack McBain. Ovechkin still got 2 goals in that game. And again, I look at him and you see the salt and pepper beard. Uh, and I mean, in my opinion, he moved a little bit slower than most of the other players, but I figured that was just due to age. He's still ridiculously talented and rightfully so. I mean, hitting 895, passing Wayne Gretzky. Not being a hockey fan, I know that name. And being in the same conversation, let alone passing him, you have to pay your respects. And it was crazy seeing these guys play in person and recognizing why these guys are idolized by so many in the hockey fan base. Um, but the first time that I truly recognized a player from Utah being as talented as they are, granted, we had already known how talented Dylan Gunther is. It was the Philadelphia Flyers game where he hit the game winner in overtime as time expired, where they had to review that tape over and over again. I was lucky enough to have my phone out and thinking like, okay, there's a minute left in overtime. I'm gonna just start recording and maybe I catch something. And I managed to get an amazing angle of his game winning goal and everybody just jumping up immediately. Um, and my camera view was terrible after the goal itself just because there was just pure excitement. And I honestly didn't know how to react because it was the first time that I had seen something that spectacular. And I was able to share that moment with Tasia, as y'all know her as T at Robbery. Um, she had won some giveaway tickets from me earlier in the season, and she was constantly on X saying that she wants to go back to the arena, that she misses the team. And I was like, you know what? I don't have anyone taking my seat tonight. Would you like to join me? Because in my mind, I would much rather have somebody in the seat for free that wants to be there and grow their own fandom with the team than go on to some ticket selling platform and sell it to an opposing fan or somebody that's recognizing that I'm selling it at face value and knowing that they can get more money out. So once I saw that she didn't have a ticket, I was like, "Hey, you should come and join me. Like, I would love to have you there." And um, I think if I remember right, she wasn't even able to get to the game on time because she wasn't able to get off work early. But she was able to be there for that game, and that really developed a brand new friendship for me between her, Piper, who's at Piper TXP, and Chrissy, who's at Club underscore Sergi. Um, just the three of them, they embraced me into their circle, and even the little bracelet club that they created throughout the season. Um, that was something that just happened organically, and I'm very thankful for them for bringing me into that circle. Uh, and now it's leading to, little movie nights or trying to plan a night out with everyone. It's just something that's happened organically, and I'm thankful to have those people around, um, and that want to, you know, grow their friendship, grow their fandom. Granted, sometimes they could be a little crazy, but we love crazy. Um, Especially when it comes to their individual fandoms. I think that every fan base needs to have people that stand out more than others, and they definitely did their part and they did it the right way, in my opinion. Um, so, absolutely love them for the additions they've made into my life. And I am really looking forward to our bracelet making gatherings that we still have yet to plan, or movie nights that will come eventually. But the fact that we are able to grow a friendship from hockey and grow it beyond that, can't thank them enough. Um, but with those games, led to meeting way more fans than I could ever anticipate directly through Brandon, with our EE meetings, which had been happening all season. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to make it out to every single one of them. I will say I am guilty of saying I would go to some and then get so caught up taking notes or doing a tweet that by the time I finished, photo had already been taken, or I will walk there and I see everyone dispersing, and I missed out on my chance. But there's 41 games. There's plenty of other opportunities, and watching that group grow as much as it did, uh, I don't even know what to say about it. It's awesome seeing that this fan base has grown as much as it did and as quickly as it did. Um, and it was all just by word of mouth and just people wanting to be friends with people with similar interests. And even embracing people who weren't fans of the Utah Hockey Club. I mean, shoot, throughout the season, in the photos, I had seen Dallas Stars sweaters, Calgary Flames sweaters, Vegas Golden Knights, Colorado Avalanche. We had seen such a variety of different sweaters in these photos, but even though we would chirp at them and tell them that they weren't allowed in the photo or tell them they had to take it off, um, we still embraced these people because they were so open to welcoming this brand new fan base. Um, and one game that really put it into perspective for me was on March 12th with the Anaheim Ducks. For that game, my grandfather was able to come to town, Marty Bean, and his wife, my grandma, Carol. They had driven down from Nampa, Idaho, just in passing, and they were in town long enough to go to this game. And I was like, "Oh, this game's going to be nationally televised," and I was able to find some seats for the three of us. I'm really looking forward to having this game with you because he originally tried to coordinate to try and come to a game against the Montreal Canadiens because that was his favorite team growing up. But didn't work out with the schedule, so we ended up having him come down for that Anaheim game. But with it being nationally televised, he was able to get a little rally towel, so it was like a little uh, memento that he was able to take home with him. Granted, he said that he didn't want to buy anything, take anything back, but he got the rally towel. I wanted him to have the match day puck because he originally worked at the Gila River Arena in Arizona when the Coyotes were playing there. And he would always tell me about the Coyotes and Shane Doan and Matt Smith, just tell me that they are phenomenal players. He wished that they would have received more praise for their time in Arizona, but um, just they never found a way to get over that hump. And he was so excited when he heard that they were moving to Utah because they're a little bit closer for him, but then that also gives him an excuse to come see his grandson. So I was super excited to even have the both of them come down. But I got him a match day puck, which granted he wouldn't say directly, but he was happy to have. But he again didn't want to take anything with him. But he then saw how large of a fan base that we have, especially outside of EE, because thankfully our tickets for that night were right in front of the team store in the upper bowl, and they were able to see, and they're like, "Oh, are these all your friends?" And I could confidently say yes. Granted, they got caught up with an ice cream cart, so they weren't able to join the photo, which is a little upsetting. But I would much rather them have fun with the game than forcing them into a photo that they may not want to be a part of. Um, but for the rest of the game, after that photo, they were just talking to me about how proud they are of me and taking this leap out to Utah to do something that wasn't a guarantee. Um, so being able to share that moment with them, I I was borderline in tears just because again, I don't get to have these type of moments with my family, and even though sports is a huge bonding thing, I don't really get to do that very much in person. And speaking of grandparents that I wasn't able to have this bond with in person, I could thank the Puck Drop podcast with Destin, especially, who made sure that we got things coordinated, trying to get Theo Fleury into the building, get some interviews done. But Theo Fleury was a part of the Salt Lake Golden Eagles, while my grandfather, Jack Lindquist, who I have right back here, um, he was a part of the Salt Lake Golden Eagles uh, when he was the equipment manager for the team. And before we went live on air with JJ and Alex, um, I was talking with Theo, just telling him like, "Hey, this this is my connection." And my grandfather, he was a part of the Golden Eagles, and this and that, and told me he was equipment manager. And first reaction, he was like, "Wait, you're Jack's grandson?" And even now, get a little choked up about it because the fact that Jack had such an impact on someone like Theo, someone who's borderline Hall of Fame player, and the last time he played has been over 20 years. And Jack left such a lasting impression from Theo's first years playing professional hockey. Um, really showed what type of character Jack had and the lasting impression he left on people. But as you saw on that photo, Theo signed it, which at first I was a little embarrassed to do that because I didn't know what to do. I just kind of had the photo because I wanted to take a picture with him, and then he just decided to sign it. And says one of the greatest Eagles of all time, Golden Eagles of all time, and actually signed it with his Golden Eagles number and not his Flames number. So it was really cool to see that. Um, but back to that Ducks game, that was also the same night as the Letters for Ingram, where I was able to meet both Clint and Jackie Johnson, who are respectively at Mr. Nacho Puck and at Nacho Likes Puck. Um, the two of them, I don't think that they recognized how large of an impact they made to so many individuals at that game. I really wish that my grandparents came down there to see it, but them getting older in age don't want to put more miles on them, and they want to stay in their seats and eat their ice cream. So I was like, you know what? I'll go down. I'll do my thing. But I got to have a really nice conversation with Clint, asking him like what his involvement was, and he again just gave all the credit to Jackie, just saying she felt that this was something that was necessary for people to grasp. And uh, interacting with a few individuals, there was a gentleman that I unfortunately didn't catch his name, but he saw me talking with Clint, and I think Clint walked off to talk with a handful of other people or join Jackie. But this gentleman, he said that the fact that we are bringing awareness to this sort of thing for something that wasn't required, it was just out of the kindness of everyone's heart and the care of everyone's heart. Um, that it was good to see that people were caring before it was too late, because he himself is a veteran and he had lost too many people to mental illness. And even though Connor Ingram could be considered a celebrity, he has the spotlight, he has the money. Like, why should he even be in the same category? Um, Spotlight could potentially make things worse, um, and more unbearable. Uh, so hearing it come from this gentleman and just saying that it was great to see that people were caring, um, before it was too late, and it hit me differently. Um, Even now, too, it's hard to think that not enough people care until it's too late. So having Jackie coordinate something as simple as words of affirmation for somebody that we put on a pedestal, um, it was eye opening, and it led to a friendship that I didn't think was possible, because I thought it was potentially a one off thing. It then spread like wildfire through media, and I mean, even when I saw the tweets going out between her and Brandon, um, I started reaching out to my people, such as Boo Tran and Sam Farnsworth. I told them, I was like, "Hey, this is something that you want to be there for. Like, this is going to get clicks. This is going to get views. Like, highly recommend you be there." And I'm glad that I decided to go out on a whim and say that I wanted to help spread the word. Even though I'm not here for the recognition of it, I am glad that a simple retweet may have turned into thousands of views, or helped give those people that may not be comfortable speaking up, that it gave them an outlet and recognized that there are people there. It's just a matter of whether or not you're willing to open up your arms and accept that hug from them, and that could be life changing. Um, but again, it led to me meeting so many more people. Um, and even though I had known him leading up to this event, um, I feel like I got a little bit closer with a gentleman named Jesse, who's at Clubber Time. Uh, he would chirp with the What Chaos guys often, and kind of gave the Utah Hockey Club a fan, like the fan base itself, a voice on a national scale. Even though could be considered positive, could be considered negative. Um, he is a fan through and through, and he very quickly was able to recognize who was truly behind him, who was trying to be a good influence, bad influence, or who just wanted to join along. And his energy is unmatched, especially with some of the interactions that I've had with him. And I'll bring up one of those a little bit later. Um, he's just a phenomenal individual. And even though, again, his energy is unmatched, um, he is somebody that I didn't realize I would be as thankful to know as I am, just because I've gotten so used to being professional going to these games that he reminded me that it's okay to let loose every now and then. Granted, I don't let loose as far as he does. And if I did, check on me. Um, but he's a phenomenal individual, and the fact that there are fans that recognize him as like the guy that if you offend anyone in our fan base, he's going to come after you. Like, he's the good version of a hover parent, in my opinion. Like, imagine if a hover parent parties. That is Clubber Time himself. um, but speaking of fans that just go above and beyond, we have yet another Brandon, Sojo B Man Ute fan. Uh, he took this club by storm. Loud and proud. He showed that at Utes games for I think he told me like 20 something years. Um, he's loud and proud about anything he supports. Um, but I think the largest impact that that man had was going up to the glass every single game for warm-ups, um, but putting the children first. Uh, Granted, you'll always put your own children first, and his kids, they have a gnarly collection, and I'm jealous, even though some people would even say the same about the merchandise that I have. Um, but if there was a fan that would reach out to him saying, "Oh, this is my kid's first game," or "Oh, we've tried so many times, but we're unsuccessful. We see that you get them so often. Can you help?" Zero hesitation. He would make sure that he would get a player's attention, whether it's banging on the glass, yelling at them, taking a kid's sign, putting it up against the glass itself, but making sure that the kids received something, because even that effort created a brand new core memory for these kids. And it's not even me reaching on those. Um, there were so many people that would post on social media saying that because of what Sojo did, my kid now is in bed cuddling up to this scuffed up puck, and the smell of rubber is now on this kid going to bed. There's black skid marks in their sheets now because they're just tossing with the puck in arms. But now that one gesture now created a lifelong fan. Um, and not a lot of people would be selfless like that. A lot of people would see that they caught the puck and it's mine. I finders keepers. It's it's great seeing that there is that sense of humanity in people when there is so much me with social media and just personal stature. Um, there's so much in the world for personal gain where he just said, you know what, I'm going to be here for another game. Take that puck. And it was great because, I mean, especially when you see people put their kids on the forefront, like, say, your mom loves hockey, Kelly, she not only would tell like her and her husband Johnny that like this is like a date night type of thing and that like it's a new thing for them to bond over, but it's something that they were able to connect with their kids because especially like with their oldest, he had played hockey growing up. She even explained to me like, yes, it's an expensive sport, but it's a sport that I can see that you're passionate about. It's something that drives you to want to be a better individual. Yeah, we'll invest in it. And even though he's currently on a mission and living through Kelly and her family. It's great seeing that even on his mission, when they do get to communicate, because now they're able to do like video calls and such. They're able to be like, "Oh yeah, here's this stick that I bought from such and such player," or "Look at these signatures that I got on my sweater," or "Look at this puck," and "Look, I took a photo with this person," and their child just being in awe and being able to just think, "Man, my parents are so cool." But really, it's them bonding as a family, even though they're not able to be there for every single game as a full family. And even with their daughter Addie, I remember the first handful of games that she would come in, she would be a little more shy and reserved. But now, whenever she comes up to like say Tasia or Piper, it's almost like a completely different person. She is so excited to see these girls, and you start seeing a little more personality come out of her. It's really cool seeing that this central community of hockey was able to bring a shy child out of her shell, And I don't know if she recognizes that. I don't know if Kelly recognizes it like that, but it's great seeing that type of growth with people. Um, but somebody that I connected through the Jazz, his Twitter handle is the pause 11. His name's Joe. I had sat next to him for a couple of years as a part of my Jazz season tickets. We would moan and groan about the Jazz not being good, but once hockey came around, I started learning that he was also a big hockey guy. Granted, off the top of my head, I can't remember if he was a Rangers fan or a Devils fan, but I know that saying the wrong one is a sin in itself. But he was just telling me about how excited he was about just having a hockey team and showing his kids that this is a true sport, this is a real sport, and really thinks that this is something that his family could bond over. And every other game, he would tell me about how his kids were super excited about seeing this player up the glass or seeing a hit or what have you. Um, it was really cool seeing that type of connection. But this team also led to me progressing my career, getting my first opportunity on press row, which I think most people that have met me in Utah have never seen me dressed up head to toe, suit, tie. I think maybe 4 or 5 people ever had seen me dressed like that in Utah. So being on press row, having a story idea, talking about Mikhail Sergachev and his return to Tampa, which was going to be later on that week, because I was on press row for the Detroit Red Wings game. Um, it was crazy to think that I was a fan, made his way up onto press row, and you know, getting to have experiences that others don't, but at the same time having to essentially hide my fandom because I want to be as professional as possible and again progress my career in that direction. I can't be geeking out if I got certain players feet away from me. Um, but because of that connection, traveling out to Tampa on my own dime, but still working on an article for KSL Sports. I was able to interview a handful of Tampa Bay Lightning fans, ask them what Sergachev meant to them, um, and what they were really looking forward to in his return. Um, and I did not realize how big of an impact Mikhail Sergachev had on that community. And with that article, I was able to do so much research and realize that he's a community guy. And that's definitely shown since he's been here in Utah. I mean, especially with the overtime cards signing that he did, just being able to have those personal connections with people, it's unmatched. And the guys just embraced this community so quickly. Um, and that's why I could probably say that out of all the players, he's the one that I've kept an eye on the most, just because it also gave me a connection with a friend from back home. His name's John Russell. Him and his wife Lee, they have been Lightning fans for years. Lee grew up in Boston, so she was always surrounded by the Bruins. Um, but John has a love for pucks, and I mean, he's gotten me some pucks that I did not realize were going to be within reach. I mean, whether it's generic game day, even down to a draft signed puck by Mikhail Sergachev himself, um, and then even things such as little pieces of history, like the last time that the Coyotes played against Tampa. He just gave that to me because he knew that that's a part of the fandom that I could embrace. Or at the beginning of the season, he made a bid on a game used puck against Ottawa, which he just wanted to have a piece of history, but he recognized that I was starting to get into hockey, and he said that he would much rather have a fan have that type of memorabilia than for it to just sit on a shelf. So we worked out a couple of deals to where I was able to get him a couple pucks. He got me a couple of pucks, and we called it good. But that same game, I was able to surprise my mom's at said game. My stepmom, Suzanne, she didn't find out that I was going to Tampa till about a week or two before I made my trip, where my mother, Molly, she did not know until I was walking up the stairs, and she cried her eyes out. Granted, I had seen her a year prior because she came out to Utah, took her to a Jazz game even. But Suzanne, I hadn't even seen since I had moved, which will be 4 years in July. So it was a nice heartfelt moment that I was able to share with both of them. I was able to sit with them for the game. Granted, Utah lost 8-0. But again, I got to see Mikhail Sergachev's return to Tampa. I got to spend it with my friends John and Lee and my mom's. So overall, it was an amazing night. And again, I got to progress my career a little bit because once I put that article out, I started getting a lot of positive feedback, some people telling me that I did a great job. And I think that even though it was just my first article on their platform, it made me realize that with enough hard work and dedication, I could definitely do this. And it's a lot of individual spare time and a lot of hours behind the scenes, but I'm doing what I love. And, if your job is what you love, are you really working? Um, some people will still say yes, but I'll still appreciate the paycheck regardless. um, but as the season started coming to a close, the fact that Utah was still within the playoff hunt all the way in down to the final week or two, that was not an expectation that I had of this team, especially knowing who they were as the Coyotes. But overall, season was phenomenal. Even with a 6-1 loss tonight against the Blues, which locked in the Blues playoff berth, um, it was still a phenomenal season. So many memories, so many people, and to be honest, so many things that I had missed out on just because there were just so many great things that I couldn't be a part of. But that's how this fan base grows. You learn about certain things as the year goes on, and then when the next season comes along, you now know what to look out for. And one of those things that I personally did not think was something I was going to have to look out for was the card industry. Even though I had collected cards over the years, not like aggressively or anything. It was more of just like oh, there's a box of basketball cards at Walmart, $20. Sure. If I get a player I like, awesome. But didn't really have any sentimental value to me. Where now this year, I feel like I've been so aggressive on trying to get these cards just because it's introduced me to another community, um, which one of those individuals being Chase G. Um, he's very passionate about his cards. He's very passionate about his collections. I will say I am nowhere near as passionate as he is, but he definitely showed me that there is a passion and a love for this type of hobby that maybe I do have. But it's still something that I feel is still untapped. I'm still trying to learn whether or not that's something I still want to continue to invest in. Um, but it's definitely a brand new market for me. And even though I have no idea what half the stuff means, it's still fun opening up these box of cards and opening my eyes to new things. So, speaking of said new things, I just have to say thank you to anyone and everyone that has paid attention to being on the scene, whether it's been on X, YouTube, TikTok, paying attention to the live tweets that I've done, any interviews that I've done over the last season. It's been great. Just even being able to have this type of reach or being able to meet new people. It's been something that I will recognize for the rest of my life because even as Ryan and Ashley Smith said, like you'll know where you were when the Utah Hockey Club came to Utah. I know where I've been with the interactions that I've had with every fan that I've had an interaction with, um, and the support for everything that I've done, whether it's been fully committed or not. Um, I can't be thankful enough. And I really hope that we'll be loud and proud next season. I got some plans for the hockey and basketball off seasons. Um, Sports are year round, so being on the scene will still be active. Might just need to change the format a tad bit so we can fill that 30 minutes to an hour timeline. Um, but uh, yeah, again, just thank you to the fans, the organization, um, anyone and everyone who has helped me along the way, um, especially those within the building of the KSL Sports, like Jake Hatch, Lloyd Cole, Hu Tran, Sam Farnsworth, Jeremiah Jensen, Matt Glade, Cole Bagley, and then through the business itself, Bell Fraser, Adrian Denny, Mike Volta, Kim Becker, Nick Olchek, and Jeffrey Sanders. Like these are people that have helped me tremendously, whether they might see it as minimal or career changing. Um, I just owe my thanks to them, along with all the fans that I interact with on a daily basis, whether you're there for my content or my company. Uh, the same goes back out to you. And I hope that you recognize that even though I might be analytically driven, um, you guys all have an impact on me much more than you'll ever know. So, with that being said, this was a much longer being on the scene than I anticipated. Um, but it's 1 a.m. For those of you who stuck it out, thank you. And we'll see you next time.